Hello everyone, my name is Oluwaseun Iyola. I'm a business analyst. I'm also a lead cloud analyst and a lead practitioner. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to decompose business process steps. I'm sure by now you know what decomposition is. Basically, decomposition is breaking down substances into smaller pieces. Today, our case study is Global Bike and we'll be decomposing Global Bike business process. Also, I will demonstrate how to get into your SAP Fiori app and how to get to the functionality area that you have been allocated by Simon Polovina. I know by now you all have your functionality area that you have been allocated. I think you'll be in groups. So today I'm going to treat the case study warehouse management too. This case study explains how an integrated warehouse management process, which is triggered by a stock transport order from a manufacturing facility to a warehouse managed storage location. Before I move further, I would like to tell you, or let me say, I would like to give you an example of how business process works. And I'm going to use a similar example that you all are familiar with. Let's say when you want to apply for your admission at Sheffield Hallam University, you went on the website, get on your course, look for the modules, understand how the modules work, how many years you have to take this course. And when you applied, your application was sent to the admission office. It was picked up and they check if you have actually met all the requirements to be a student of Sheffield Hallam University. And if you are successful, they'll send you an email telling you that you have successfully applied for this course and you have been given an admission. I'm sure you, in your head, you understand that there are process steps that this has gone through. From the moment you went onto the website to the moment you applied, you get all the requirements, to the moment where the admission officer picked your application up and was able to check if you required. All these are process steps for you to be able to be a student of Sheffield Hallam University. We are going to also apply this process step to all our case study. All you need to do is just to think, how can this be done? What are the processes that you think this can be done? And luckily for you, you have your sheets where you have all the process step of each case study. You really don't have to crack your brain too much. At the same time, you need to think as a business analyst. You're analyzing the process steps that is required, that is applied in Global Bike as an organization. So the first thing first is you need to understand and perform the process of each of your case study. So today we are treating warehouse management. So we are going to understand and perform a warehousing process for international goods. So let's read through the scenario. Due to different sales outputs in your San Diego distribution center, management has decided to install a warehouse management system there. The implementation is completed and now the new system needs to be tested. For this purpose, finished goods should be requested from your manufacturing facility in Dallas and put in stock in San Diego using the new warehouse management system. Beautiful. So now, looking at this scenario, you will have seen that two different locations have been mentioned, and there's going to be movements of goods from one location to another. If you're able to think this way, then you're on point. Moving forward, you will see that we have some employees involved in this warehouse. And we have about 4 employees here: the supervisor, the plant manager, the receipt clerk, and the warehouse employee. So have it at the back of your mind that we also have employees at the warehouse. So moving forward, in order to receive goods from the plant in Dallas, you need to create a stock transport order in Dallas. A transport order, excuse me. Dallas will send the goods to the San Diego distributor center. So from there, you know there is a movement of goods from Dallas to San Diego. As soon as you perform the goods receipt in San Diego, the system will create a transfer order for the received goods. Due to this order, the warehouse management will put the goods into stock. In the end, you can check if the goods have been sorted into the correct storage bin. So here they've analyzed a few things that you're going to do. So moving forward, you can see this beautiful structure here. These are process steps. You'll be wondering what is MM and WM. So MM is material management and WM is warehouse management that we're dealing with today. So if you have gone through your case study, you will have noticed that there are other functionality areas and material management is one of them. So looking at this structure, you will know that there is an integration between warehouse management and material management. And this explains that in your SAP Fiori app, there are integrations between these functional areas. Moving forward, so we can see our step 1 here, which is display material inventory. Each case study has different steps, so you have to go through your steps one by one. So the task is you have to view the inventory of your material. So you're going to perform this function in your SAP Fiori app. But before we do that, before we move into the SAP Fiori app, I want us to decompose this process step into our Excel spreadsheet. Beautiful. So from our first step, we see that we are displaying material inventory, and the task is to view the inventory of the material. I want us to go through these steps one by one before we move into the spreadsheet. You need to read all of this one by one and understand them. Then this next step is to create your stock transport order. So what is the task? The task is to create a stock transport order. You have your short description of how you're going to do this in your Fiori Launchpad. So, like I said earlier, we will be moving into our Fiori app after we have decomposed this process step into our spreadsheet. Make sure you read all of this through. Now you can see from here, they said note, transfer posting should not involve a physical good movement. However, in stock transfers, there is always a physical movement of goods. In a plant-to-plant stock transfer, the plants between which the material is transferred can belong to the same company code or different company codes. The cross-plant stock transfer can only be booked out of the unrestricted use stock. So here you'll have heard something about physical goods. So when you hear about physical good movement, you think about moving good from Dallas to San Diego. Obviously, you have to move the orders that was placed from Dallas and moving it to San Diego. Some employees need to carry this physically, put them in the truck or van, move them to the next location. So there is a physical good movement here. So I want you to think along with me as I explain this. So moving forward, our next step is you view the inventory of your material again. So at every step in your Fiori app, you do all these instructions that you have been given in your case study. So let's move to the next step. Our step 4 again. Here you say this the instruction is you display material inventory value. You know the previous step here says that we should display material inventory. Now when you display a material inventory, when there are materials that are available in the inventory, definitely they will have their values. So you need to also view the value of your material inventory. So these two steps still falls under the process step of material inventory processing. You will understand as we move forward. So our next step is creating goods issue. So goods issuing processing is the next process step. And the task is you need to create a good issuing from the issuing plant. So you're gonna do this also on the Fiori Launchpad. That is another process step. Moving forward, our next step is you need to display your material inventory again. So if you look at this, you know we have some process step that has been repeated, and just as they are being repeated in your case study, you need to do just exactly like this when you are on your Fiori app. But remember, we are going to decompose on our spreadsheet before we move into our Fiori app. So, and before I move on, I would like to say this. When you're decomposing on your spreadsheet and you have a process step, you don't need to repeat the same process step in your spreadsheet. I'm going to explain this later on. Again, you display material inventory value. You notice again, this is another repetition of our process step. Moving forward, you create good receipts. That is the next process step. That is good receipt processing. So the task is you receive goods at the receiving plant. So our next process step, again, you display material inventory. If you have noticed, we have this process step over and over again because your material inventory is very, very important. Moving forward, again, you display material inventory value. This is very, very important. I'm sure you're going to be wondering what is going on. You will understand everything as we move on. Now, the next process step is run bin status report. So this is run bin status processing. So the task is you check the status of your bins. Okay, so here we have a note. The warehouse number is the highest level of organization unit in warehouse management. In practice, the warehouse number usually corresponds to a physical building or distribution center. I'm sure we all know that we have all these big let's use Tesco for example. They all have their warehouses, which is a physical building, of course. So each warehouse number has a substructure that maps the spatial relationship in the warehouse complex in details. So this is a warehouse structure. So storage bins are the lowest level of organizational structure. They are assigned to a storage type and a storage section. That is, if one exists. So storage bin represents the physical location where the goods are stored in the warehouse. So now this explains what a storage bin means. Moving forward, the next step is you create transfer order. So our transfer order processing is the next process step. That's step 12. So our transfer order processing, the task is to confirm your transfer order. So all these also, we're going to be doing them in the Fiori app. So note that if you have not written down the number, you can search for it. So all these are done when we are going to the Fiori app. I just want you to take note of each process step as we are moving forward. So again, you check the status of your bin again. So again, with the process step that is being repeated here is running of bin status. So moving forward, yeah, I think we've gotten to the last process step in the case study, warehouse management. So this is a learning snack. Right, so now we move on to our spreadsheet. So I'm sure Simon has told you about leading practice and periodic tables. So let me talk briefly about our periodic table. So we have 91 objects in lead periodic table. We have our layers, we have our sublayers, and we have our meta objects class types. So we have three enterprise layer. We have the business layer, the information layer, and the technology layer. In leading practice, we connect business layer to information layer and technology layer. With the help of our objects, we are able to achieve this. So we have our sub-layer as value, competency, service, process, application data, which is under information layer, then the platform and infrastructure, which is under the technology layer. We have the value, competency, and service and process under the business layer. And each of these sublayers have their meta objects, and each meta objects have their numbers. We also call them IDs. This is really, really important. So for example, let's come to competency. We have organization. We know Global Bike is an organization. We have organizational function. We have organization rule. We have, all this is, you can apply them to real life scenario. There is an organization, and every organization have their rules, and every organization have different departments, and every department have their own function. So we just need to be able to apply all of this into real life scenario. So we have our force, we have our strategy, our objective, we have our goals under value. Every organization have their strategy, they have their goals, they have their objective, and a force is what push the organization. So moving forward here, you see this my beautiful spreadsheet is divided into 4 layers. We have the contextual, the conceptual, the logical, and the physical. I'm sure by now Simon must have talked about this with you. And you can see our business layer here with the blue color, and you see our information and our technology layer. So, in warehouse management case study, I have been able to decompose the process step we've gone through just now on this spreadsheet. You'll still be wondering, okay, what are these? What are these? Don't worry, I'm going to talk you through. So, we have our organization, Global Bike. We have our numbers here, IDs. So we used to have 87 meta objects in lead periodic table, but now we have 91 objects. So some numbers might have, been adjusted. So make sure you follow the lead periodic table that Simon must have given to you. So we have organization, and under organization, in each organization there are different grouping, different departments. I'm sure you understand what I mean by this. So that is why I say, okay, in an organization, in Global Bike, there are different organizational grouping, and every organizational grouping, they have a name. So today we are dealing with warehouse management. So the name of my organizational grouping is warehousing. So can you see how I got my contextual, my conceptual, and my logical? So my first layer is the organization, which is my meta objects. Global Bike is the organization we're talking about today. And under Global Bike, there are different groups. So that is where I was able to say, okay, under organization, we have a different organization grouping. And which one am I dealing with today? I'm dealing with warehousing. I'm sure you understand that now. Also, in our periodic table, we have organizational function. If you can remember, let me bring it up again. Organization, yeah, it's here under competency. So, organizational function. An organizational function is a core process, or let's say a set of activities that is carried out within a department. Here, the department we are talking about is warehousing. So in an organization, warehousing is under operational tier. You know, there are there are different types of tier in an organization. There are transactional, there are operational, and there are strategic. So warehousing falls under the operational tier. And again, we're talking about warehousing. So that is how I was able to decompose my organizational function also into 3 parts. Now again, in our periodic table, we have the role, there are different roles in an organization. So let me take you back here. Role is under competency, organizational role. So now we are talking about warehousing again. So what role? It is warehousing role, and what are the roles? What are the employees in the warehouse? I mean, what roles are carried out in the warehousing? I'm sure you understand that. If you remember, in our process step, we have all these um employees listed in our process step. So we have roles, and we have different roles in an organization, and today we are talking about warehousing roles, and these are the roles that are mentioned in our process step, in our case study, if you can remember. Now we move on to business service. Business service is one of our meta objects, is on our lead periodic table, is under the enterprise layer, business and sub-layer service. So our business service, at least every organization have a service they are rendering. You can't just say you're an organization. What do you do in your organization? So the business service is a meta object under sub-layer service in our periodic table. So a business service. So under a business service, we have service areas. The service area we're talking about today is warehouse management. I hope you understand that. So now we are moving forward to the process. If you remember that we read through our case study earlier, and we are going to go back there to be able to understand how I analyzed the business process of Global Bike with the case study warehouse management. So let me open up our case study again. Right. So our first process step here was to display material inventory. So the process step is material inventory processing. So in our spreadsheet, our meta object is process, the functional area is warehouse management, and the first process step is material inventory processing. So I'm going to tell you how I come about the description of material inventory processing. We have our SAP help website. So I'm going to introduce to you SAP help website and the SAP library. So you copy your object, then you go to your browser. So, okay, this is the one I've opened. So the website is help.sap.com is there. So you have where you can search. So I'm going to search for material inventory processing. Yes, so this is one. You can just you have various definitions here. We have for inventory, we have for scheduling, we have physical inventory. But today we want material inventory processing. I think this is a good one. So you click on it. So you find your definition here. So you copy it. Make sure you read through and it makes sense to you. Then you come to your spreadsheets. Then you just paste your definition here. You come back to your browser. You always have to copy your reference. We need to know where you get them from. We need to know where you get your definitions from. So you come here, you come to your reference here, you paste there. Then every SAP, most SAP has a version, but if you can't find the version, that's okay. If you can't find the version, that's okay. So, but make sure you try and get the one that has version, so you can put in the version in the version section. So moving forward, so if you remember when we're going through our case study, we had display material inventory, and the task was to view the inventory of your material. So in your spreadsheets, you put down your task, which is display material inventory. And if you can remember when we were reading through, after displaying inventory material, we know we had another one that had to do with displaying of inventory, which is display material inventory value. So the task is you view the value of your material inventory. This is why I said you need to read your steps and understand it. Now we have two process steps that is under material inventory processing. The first one is to display your material inventory, and the second one is to view the value of your material. So we have these two process steps under our material inventory processing. We have display material inventory, and after you display it, you also need to display the value of the material inventory. I hope I'm making some sense. So you go to you copy this two, then you go to your SAP help, you paste. Let's see what it's gonna give us. Okay, let me go back to my spreadsheets because I've done this earlier. Let me see what I've got. Okay, so let me copy my reference link and see. Yeah, I got my definition from. Voila. So you displaying inventory has its own definition. Inventory items are items in your catalog that contain additional related details of items in your warehouse. So this is how you get your description. So you always go to help.sap.com, put in your search words, copy your description, and please give us your reference. Also, we have version for each of this. Please, if you're able to find the version, always make sure you copy the version. So this have a version, I think. Okay, I'll come back to this. So once, just make sure you always check for the latest version. Now, let me use display inventory value as an example. So let's go back to our SAP helpline, and then we copy this. So this is display material inventory values. So you just have to copy the description for me, the purpose. You copy, you bring it on here, you paste in your description here. Then don't forget to copy your reference link. Yeah. So you copy the link, then you put it on here. And also you copy the version. So this is 2019 version. That is where we got this description. So all you have to do is copy it and put it in your version here. Now, each of this have their IDs. We have our library, SAP library, Fury's app library. So I hope this is covering this now. Fury apps library. So our app library here, you just have to copy, for example, good issue processing. Then you go to the app here. I think I'll still have to come back here. So please remove the word processing, just good issue. And you see we have different app. So we are dealing with SAP Fury app. So our good issue have the app ID, which is F0375. You copy it, and you come here and you put in the IDs. So let me go back to my decomposition. So we have our next step. If you can remember, after our display material inventory, which is our material inventory processing, the next step is to create stock transport order. So this is stock transport order processing is the name of the process step, and our task is to create a stock transport order. So you come into your spreadsheet and you write the next process step, which is transport stock processing. So, and what are we doing under our transport stock processing? The task is to create a transport stock order. So you copy your task and you come in here, you put in your task as your third layer. That is what you do when you are doing when the process is transport stock. So the task is to create stock transport order. So our next process step is we have display material inventory. We already have this process step earlier, so we are not going to repeat this process step here. So you can see we have display material inventory value. We already analyzed this into our spreadsheet, so we are not repeating this. So our next process step is create goods issue, that is good issuing processing. So here they are issuing goods. So the task is to create a goods issue from the issuing plant. So what is our process step? Our process step is goods issuing processing. That is the next process step. You can see that goods issuing processing. So I went into the Fury library to get my ID for good issuing, which I showed you earlier. And the task was to create goods issue just as it's seen in our spreadsheet. So the next step is, again, display material inventory, which we already analyzed in our spreadsheets. We don't need to write this again in our spreadsheet. But when we are doing this in the Fury app, we need to follow this step in the application. Again, you display material inventory value. Now, the next step is you create goods receipts. So every goods must have a receipt. Anytime you go to the shopping mall, I'm sure you get your receipt for whatever you've bought. So our next process step is good receipt processing. And what is the task? This task is you're receiving goods you are you're creating a good receipt. Receive goods at receiving plant. So we have create goods receipts, create, that is good receipts processing. So in our case study, we confirm the receipt of goods. When you create a good receipt, that is good receipt issuing and processing, you receive goods as receiving plant. So you have to show that you've got a good receipt, and they need to confirm if you have the receipt of those goods. So our task there is to confirm that there is a receipt of those goods. Then going back to our spreadsheet case study. So, so if you read through this, you see that the app you're going to use here when we get to the Fury app is post goods movement. That is, in the goods movement screen, you change the material drop down. This is going to be performed in on the app, but you see that there is movements of goods from the description here. So that means there is physical movement of goods. You don't have it here in the case study, but I'm trying to explain why we have physical movements of goods in our spreadsheet. You really don't need to worry your head too much, but if you can think further, that if I'm working in a warehouse and they've moved from the goods from Dallas to San Diego, so when they get to San Diego, the receiving clerk is going to be the one to receive the goods, and there's definitely going to be physical movements of the goods, probably from the truck to the warehouse. So that is why we are having here physical processing. Physical processing in a real life warehouse, the receiving clerk is going to receive delivery into the holding area. Then they transport the received goods to the storage location. Then the store receive goods in storage location. If you can remember earlier when we mentioned about the bin, it's where they store goods in the warehouse. So if you go back to your case study, you're going to see that there. So that is how we are able to come about this physical processing. So all you need to do is, as you are reading through your case study, just imagine it as a real life. Let's say you're working in a warehouse, let's say you're working in a company and you're the business analyst, our good business analyst. You just have to think around it. Right now, I'm closing my eyes and I'm thinking around it. Okay, I'm in a warehouse. Right, so when they bring in the goods, the receiving clerk will receive it. So there is a physical processing there. And what are the steps in the physical process? Okay, I think they're going to receive the delivery. When they receive it, they transport the goods, they put it in the storage location, then they put in the bin. You might not know the right way to use, but if you are able to analyze it and you tell us, okay, this is what I think can happen in a physical processing. We will know. Some of you might be working as a business analyst already, I don't know, and some of you might have no idea of how it works. All you have to do is just to think around it, think, analyze it. How can how do I think this can happen? You understand what I mean? So that is how we are able to come about this. Now the bin status report processing, which is the next step. So we have display material already analyzed. We have the value analyzed. So the next step is run bin status report. So here you have to check the status of your bins. We already explained earlier what bins are. So that is why we have in our spreadsheets the bin status report processing. So you need to run the bin status report. And if you can remember when we were moving further in our spreadsheets, before we had something that also related to running the bin, and which is this place. Hold on a minute. Okay, hold on. I think I passed this. 1 minute. Run bin transfer. Yep. So here you run bin status reports. So you check the status of your bin. So that is why we have this in our spreadsheet, bin status report processing. What you have to do is just to run the bin status report. Then I think the next thing in our case study, the next step was, yeah, to create transfer order. That is transfer order processing. So what do you do here? All you do is to create a transfer order. Just read through your short description. So in our spreadsheet, we have transfer order processing. Then we create transfer order. So moving forward, when you read through, after creating transfer order, we have the next step, which is to confirm transfer order. We can see that this too is still under transfer order processing. So we have two steps under transfer processing. So when you get to transfer order processing, the first thing is you create a transfer order, and the next step is you confirm your transfer order. So that is what we have here in our spreadsheet. You create transfer order and you confirm your transfer order. Now, that is the process step that is involved in global bike organization at the warehouse management department. So to perform, we have SAP model. You'll be wondering what is that. So SAP model, coming to our information layer, we have application and data. We have application components, we have the module, we have the feature, we have the function, the task, the services, everything that is happening in under application. We have the system, we have the role of the application, we have the rule. So the first one here is, what application are we using? We are using SAP Fiori Launchpad app. So we have our SAP module. The module we are treating now is warehouse management. Your own might be financial, you might be material management, you might be CO, whatever module or case study that you have been allocated to by your tutor. So that is your module here. Then we have our SAP application task. Obviously we are using SAP. So if you go back to your lead periodic table, you see your application task here. So what task are you doing with your SAP application? This is material inventory, because in the warehouse, all we have been doing is to know the material inventory in the warehouse. So I was able to do this because I have more experience than you. So, and what you can see here is read task, you create task, and you update task, which is actually very simple. That is what we have been doing it with our spreadsheet here. We've been reading it. After we read it, we are going to be creating it in our SAP Fiori app, which I'm going to demonstrate in a minute. So that is why we have, you read the task, you create the task, and you update the task. If you have been following me, you know this is what those process steps has been telling us in our case study. So we're going to come back to this also. So moving forward, let me talk about how I was able to get the third layers. So when you read the task, what have we been reading? We've read about the material inventory. We read the value, then the reports. These are the things you're going to be reading in your app. The material inventory, all you have to do is just to read what are the numbers of the the numbers, what is the inventory available, when you are in your SAP Fiori app, what is the value, and also we can read our bin status reports. So what are the actions we take when it comes to creating tasks? If you go back into your case study, you're going to see that one of those things is when you want to receive goods, you're going to create it in the application. You're going to also create a transfer order. Then also, what do you update? When you were reading through with me, what do you think we are updating? So if you go back, you're going to see that we confirm a transfer order. So when you confirm a transfer order, that means you need to update it on your Fiori app that you confirmed this transfer order. I'm going to show you how you go into your Fiori app in a bit. Also, in our information layer, we made use of paper, we made use of electronics. So also this, you might find this a bit confusing because you really haven't worked as a business analyst, but these are things you use to compile this information. What are the objects you use for information to carry out these things? You're going to need papers, you're going to need electronics, probably printer or something. But the electronic we're using here is SAP Fiori app. So that is why we have SAP here. And for the paper, is external, and basically we have a vendor delivery note. When you read through your process steps in your case study, you're going to know that there is a delivery note. You're going to have different process steps in different functionality that you have been allocated. I am analyzing the one I have here, which is warehouse management. So under our SAP, what did we do? We were able to have our good receipt documents. We were able to transfer order. We're able to do some accounting documents. You just have to think around it. Okay, what am I going to do? Okay, what information, what object do I need for information? Obviously, SAP Fiori app is an electronic, so and you're going to need a paper for delivery notes. And okay, under electronic, what do I use? Oh, I use SAP. So under SAP, what did we do on the SAP Fiori app? Able to, have some documents for good receipt. We're able to transfer order on the app. We're able to account for inventory and all, you just have to think around it. And also, we have SAP system reports. We have this also in our periodic table if you look through it very well. So we have application operational reports. So what report do we have in the operational department, which is our warehouse fall under operational tier. If you remember, I mentioned that earlier. So we have the warehouse reports, and the warehouse reports, where do we have what report is that? Which is the bin status reports. If you can remember in our um in our in our case study earlier, we have our bin status reports. So a warehouse is under operational tier, and we need a warehouse report, and this is called a bin status report. So that is why I was able to categorize this into my conceptual and my logical and my physical. So also we have our data flow in our periodic table. All you need to do from the periodic table is to pick the one that you know that is applicable, the object that is applicable to your case study. Obviously, in warehouse management, we have data flow. What data flow? We have data flow for the warehouse. There is flow of data in the warehousing department. You receive goods in the warehouse, you display your material inventory, you check the value for your material inventory, you create transfer order, you confirm transfer order, then your storage bin is being displayed. These are data flow, step by step. I hope you're able to understand this. So I'm going to move over to SAP Fiori app, how you can log in into your app, and how you go into your functionality area and how you execute it. Hello guys,